British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to push for an early election if the EU agrees to delay Brexit until January. And the likely move comes after Parliament blocked his plan to fast-track his Brexit deal. EU leaders are meeting in Brussels to discuss a possible extension with just 8 days left to the deadline. And for the latest, we're now joined by our correspondent, Mia Alberti, in Brussels. So, Mia, what considerations do EU leaders have about such an extension?
Well, I think they are keeping their cards very close to their chest. So today we haven't heard a lot of reactions from European leaders. We have heard from Ireland. The Prime Minister Leo Varadkar has formally announced that he will be supporting this extension. So we have one vote approving this extension, so that's good news for the UK, but 26 other states to go. We've heard from German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas in an interview for a national broadcaster in Germany. He said that if this extension was maybe 2 or 3 weeks, just enough to allow lawmakers in the UK to ratify the new deal, then he would be okay with approving that. So Germany would be approving that extension as well. But then we heard from the French Minister for European Affairs this morning as well, and she was a bit harder about this. She said that, you know, she also portrayed the same message. If this was solely on a bureaucratic reason, then France would approve this. But that more reason needs to come from the UK to understand why they want this extension. And they said that if it's just a technical extension, they would go ahead. But if it's just to buy time and to change the deal, then there would no chance France would be allowing for that extension. So as you can see, we are seeing a very skeptical EU about this issue. They are not happy that this deal hasn't been approved. They want to get this Brexit done. They want to move forward with their agendas in their own home countries. And so we are seeing a lot of resistance from the EU. Also today, this afternoon, I talked to a European spokesperson, and this person told me that, again, they need more information from the UK, more guidance to understand what is happening in London, and then only then can the EU move forward with a clear picture of what is happening.
Okay, so saying all that, we know that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is going to push for an early election if the deadline gets extended. Do we know how EU leaders will react to this then?
Well, we don't, but I think that this was a strategy by Prime Minister Boris Johnson to show some EU leaders who were skeptical that this is the change that they were hoping for. Because, for example, last week during the Council Summit, we heard from the Luxembourg Prime Minister Xavier Bettel saying that he would need a concrete reason to allow for this extension, and in his words that could be a new election in the UK or a second referendum. So I think Boris Johnson is speaking to leaders like Bettel, who are very reluctant in accepting an extension unless there is a new reason for that, being that reason an election or a referendum. So I think Boris Johnson is also speaking to the European Union leaders saying, look, I am going to do an election, this is what you were asking me as a reason, so now you can go ahead and grant us this extension. I will move forward with an election, we will get Brexit done with the deal that we have done together, and that's what will happen. So I think that's a promise almost, like from Boris Johnson, appeasing to European leaders, but concretely we haven't heard anything regarding some new elections from European leaders, again because the European Union wants the UK to sort out its political problems first and then come back and they can move forward with approving the new withdrawal agreement.
All right, thanks for that. Mia Alberti speaking to us from Brussels.